with that bodyguard. Throw in some dirty talking. Throw in an age gap. Listen, take a guess who's the older person. Yes, the heroine. Hi wonderful people, and welcome back to my channel Book Craves. I'm Giselle. How are you going? What's up? What's the scene? I am going to tell you what books I read in the month of September. If you want to know what books I read this month, what books I thoroughly enjoyed, what I didn't enjoy, what I DNF, keep watching. Some of the books that I read were new releases. Some books were interracial, mafia. I have some short stories that I read as well. My reading in September was so diverse. Yo, if I haven't told you that Lunchtime Chronicles is hot this season, then I'm telling you now, it's hot. I read 4 books in September and they were all so spicy. But not only that, the stories, although short, they covered everything. Like, I didn't miss anything. So the 4 books that I read from Lunchtime Chronicles are Chocolate Vanilla Swirl, and this is by Casey Martin. I read Merlot by Rosemary. I read Dirty Mojito by Amaya Black, and then I read Boston Sour by Amani G. Read all. That's all I'm saying. Read all. Each of these had a different trope, right? So Vanilla Swirl was a second chance romance. In the past, they had like a fling. They broke things off so that they can each pursue their own individual careers. Turns out that the hero, he came back into their town and he got employment within the same company. So you had like a little office romance brewing between both of them. These are all interracial relationships, by the way. The bill in this one was really nice. It was like a slow bill, whereas Merlot, pow! Merlot was pow! First chapter, spice! And then you had their relationship breaking up. This one was also a second chance romance. Listen, I loved this one. Oh gosh, I loved all, right? I loved all, but this one hit me differently. This one and Dirty Mojito, it hit me differently. Merlot, it is a second chance celebrity romance. So you have the heroine and the hero, they're together. They were together from like high school. The hero's career took off, and so he had to break things off for a particular reason. Turns out he never got over her even after 10 years. And they reconnected because they have mutual best friends that were getting married. And so the hero, he took this as an opportunity to try to reconnect and grovel and beg for forgiveness and hope that she understood why he needed to end the relationship. This one was just so good. Oh my goodness, this one was just so good. And Dirty Mojito, you had like your enemies to lovers. The hero, he was just like a bully. And so as adults now, she was celebrating her birthday and someone invited him. I can't remember why he was invited, but he is a football player and she is a sports journalist. She was given a challenge. She took that challenge and they hooked up. The story itself, it had a dark twist and I'm like, I love it. I enjoyed it. But in Dirty Mojito, that enemies to lovers or bullies, enemies to lovers, you got a very dark twist because something was wrong with this girl. Yes, how could I forget Boston Sour with that bodyguard? Throw in some dirty talking. Throw in an age gap. Listen, take a guess who's the older person. Yes, the heroine. She's the older one in this relationship. And oh my God. There was a particular scene in this book and I'm like, but there's also action and adventure and suspense in this short story. The spice in this book comes after the story has been laid. The background has been set up Primo by Kita Kendrick. I got the physical copy of the book. Yes, I read Primo's story as part of the Savage Bloodline collection or anthology. Yes, but when the individual book is released, it has additional scenes. So I needed to read that. So this book, in the collection, the relationship is faster. However, it has the additional scenes, so their story is spread out more. There are more moments of intimacy. There's also additional action scenes. Action scenes. Okay, there's this particular scene, okay, where there's a priest involved. I'm like, priest? Hello. I'm like, whoa. So this is a mafia book. Primo is a capo for the De Luca family. He's also an assassin for the family. And so because of the death of the last Don, there's someone out to get him. There's a hit on his head, and you see where he's trying to figure out which De Luca has betrayed the family. And in comes Neva. She walks in on a meeting, and because of that, she gets roped into that particular situation. And she has her own past. Like, she grew up in a terrible neighborhood, so she was a perfect match for Primo. She is badass. She is sassy. She takes no prisoners. She's like, you know what? If you want to dish out this, I'm going to dish it back 10 times worse. And Primo, he is the same. So they're like, you know, the same mindset, the same tough upbringing. And so they were their exact match. So I read To the Woman He Loves. This is an interracial second chance with cheating, with a little bit of a love triangle. This book had me up all night. There are 3 parts in this particular series, and I read all 3 back to back to back because it had me in suspense. I needed to know what was happening. And the book starts with a letter to the outside woman. She believes that her husband is in love with the outside woman. When I read that, I became so emotionally invested in this story that I needed to see it through the ending, because I'm like, okay, is she going to stay with him? Is she going to leave him? Is she going to cheat back on him? Everything is peachy. Everything is nice. Her husband starts to suspect that she is having an affair. There were some cringy parts because I couldn't deal with it. Listen, if you want something that would make your blood boil and you are okay with reading books with cheating, read this one. I was wrapped up in Rohan and Ruby and Misty because Misty is the outside woman. This month, I read The Greek's Destruction by Sonia B. It is a Greek mafia romance. This is the very first book that I've read from this author, and I'm definitely going to be reading more. In this book, we meet Tsar, and he is the mafia boss within a particular territory. And Nina is a stripper working at one of his clubs. She's doing that in order to get through college. And she has always had a thing for Balthazar. He has always had a thing for her. But during that time, he was setting himself up as the boss. He didn't want to be involved with her at that time. So years later, they meet again. And Balthazar, or Tsar, he wants to seize this opportunity to do so. And with that, you have complications because at that point in time, it's not like Nina was waiting around for him, right? She wasn't. She got involved with someone else, and that person that she is involved with is part of one of their rival mafia organizations. I really enjoyed Nina not knowing anything about the mafia. She's taken by surprise, and so now she is thrust into this world. This book ended on a cliffhanger, and the way that it ended, his brother, though, I liked his brother. And this particular brother, he sees something, he goes after it. And I like that in a mafia boss. He don't play, and because of that, he has his eyes set on someone. Book 2, I need to read. I also read Love and Heartbreak by Sage Young. This book released towards the end of September. It is a mafia romance. It is book 1 in the Love series. So you have the underboss for the mafia, and then you have his love interest is a doctor, and she's going to leave the city that they're currently in, where she's going to pick up her residency. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna do this. This don't make no sense. You leaving in like 2 weeks or whatnot. But this book had me hooked. So you have Aaliyah, she's there celebrating that she's going to become a doctor. Then you have Christos. He, from the young age of like 11, he had his first introduction into the life. And he happens to meet this nice, thick, dark woman whom he is immediately attracted to, and they spend time together, but their relationship could not last. And this book, it ends on a cliffhanger. I want to know where the story is going to go, because one, the father did something, and because the father is trying to control Christoph, I can see him rebelling. I don't want to give out too much spoilers, but I can't see him going through that particular marriage. And that's all I'm going to say. I can't see him doing it. This story can go in so many directions, but I have no clue where it's going to go. So I listened to one audiobook, and it was the Black Widow Clique. Y'all, this story took me by surprise. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about this story. I've never read anything like this. So we meet Melanie and Fiona. They have a crew or a clique, and what they do is they plan to marry rich men and then kill them off for money. Fiona, she is the more money hungry one of them all, and she doesn't care what she has to do. She doesn't care who get hurt so that she can get what she wants. And Melanie, she has a daughter with someone in the crew, but she also wants to come out. And they set their eyes on a particular person, and the way that it's set up is so that Fiona, she would marry the man. Turns out that the man had no interest in Fiona, but in Melanie. And so they started up this relationship, and Fiona used that to her advantage. You had Fiona turning on her and wanting the crew to turn on her, but she got what was coming to her. Listen, this book, there is murder, there is mayhem, you have action, there is suspense, there's literally everything in this book. It is not very spicy, but the story will have you enthralled. The story will have you captivated, and you are going to want more. This book is free if you have Audible Plus. So I read Bitter Sweetheart by Helen Hunton, and I really wanted to love the story, but it was a DNF for me. The pace was just too slow. Like, it's a sports romance with hockey. There's an age gap where the heroine, she is older, she's a professor, so you have that taboo forbidden, and y'all know I do that. That is not a turn off for me. A professor and a student, I will eat that up. But the pace of the story was so slow. It started off nice. The pace and everything, the relationship, the tension and everything, it was there, it was building nicely, and it all came to a full stop, a comma. I don't know what happened, where it went wrong, but everything just started to go so slow and went downhill. I was so excited to read this particular duet from Corrupt Gods. I read book 1, and book 1 was good. I enjoyed it. So you have these two families. They have bad blood going back many, many, many years. And so in book 1, we meet Santi and Talia. Talia, her sister, is being blackmailed, and so she decides she's going to use her skills at playing cards or at gambling to save her sister. Turns out she goes into a casino that's owned by her family rivals, and she gets caught. He kidnaps her, he keeps her for himself, and then all hell breaks loose. And the story was really interesting in the beginning. So I got through book one of the duet, everything was good. But then the story for me started to really die down. It started to get really slow and I lost interest. I can complete book two. So book two, Tainted Blood, was a DNF for me. This one was really good. I read phenomenal books. If you have read any of these books, please let me know. I'll be interested. If you have any book suggestions or recommendations, feel free to share them. I will read them. All the books that I mentioned will be listed down in the description box. Yeah, look out until I post another video.